Bing bong.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of the Paddock Talk podcast. I am Kyle,
I'm Scott.
and on today's episode, we're going to be breaking down the race in Hungary, talking a little bit about Spa, and it's silly season in F1, Scott. Summer break's right around the corner. Lots of news to talk about.
Jesus, like it's ridiculous. It's awesome. We actually have stuff to talk about in the news. I'm digging it, man.
Yeah, and I think the first thing we're going to get into is the qualifying for Hungary. So they actually changed the qualifying this year in Hungary and made it so each team had to use, here it is, they had to do Q1 on hards, Q2 on mediums, and Q3 on softs, and it made for a lot more even grid out there.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of a mixed bag on the quali. I mean, obviously Max Verstappen still was the car to beat, but back from the old back from like 10th back, it was kind of different. We had Danny Rick in 13th. We had a couple guys here and there. Obviously, one Haas still in the way back, but it mixed it up. It got some cars who haven't made Q3 in forever, like the Alfa Romeos, in Q3, which was awesome.
Yeah,
I like this. I mean, I like the change. I really do.
Yeah, I did as well. It made, qualifying lately has been a little bit more exciting than the race weekend or the race on Sunday. But like you said, qualifying was so exciting seeing Joe up there in 5th. But race didn't turn out so well for him. We're going to hop into that next.
Not so much, but yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about it. Actually, well, we'll hop into it right now. Finishing 20th, and we'll get into this a tad later in the show, but the Alpine of Pierre Gasly didn't make it to lap 1 in 20th. Esteban Ocon and the other Alpine finished 19th. Logan Sargent 18th. Kevin Magnussen, no shock, in 17th. Zhou Guan Yu 16th. Definitely after that hard, start. Yuki Tsunoda 13th. Nico Hulkenberg 14th. Danny Rick, such a great surprise seeing him in 13th. You're thinking, no, it's not great, but he was involved in that first corner incident, so it was great getting him back into 13th. Valtteri Bottas in 12th, and Alexander Albon finished 11th.
Then we had Lance Stroll in 10th, Fernando Alonso down there in 9th, Carlos Sainz in 8th, Charles Leclerc in 7th, George Russell in 6th with a great recovery drive, Oscar Piastri in 5th, Lewis Hamilton in 4th, Sergio Perez in 3rd with another good recovery drive, Lando Norris in 2nd, and Max Verstappen first, not 3rd. I wish he finished 3rd.
That'll never happen, man. Never in a million years.
No.
But no, as I alluded to earlier, Zhou Guan, I guess, forgot to hit the gas pedal and shift into first gear because stalled it on the start, got going, and then it was calamity going into turn 1. Cars bouncing everywhere. Both Alpines took each other out. Very impressive, guys. I mean, we haven't seen this much coordinated team assassination since, well, Australia, when you took yourselves out in the first turn in the last 2 laps. So very impressive. But like I said, Danny Rick started 13th, got involved in that wreck, took some damage, and he was running last to 17th most of the race, but didn't give up, kept pushing. That safety car helped him, at least. It hurt one of the other drivers in the top 5. I mean, he got a good solid finishing position in that crap AlphaTauri in the race. What did you think?
Yeah, the start of the race was so exciting, the first lap, and then the rest of the race for me was kind of just Sergio and George catching up from all the way down the grid. Like you said, 2 big moments happening right off the start. All the 4 cars colliding at the back, and then the 4 at the front. So if we remember from qualifying, Lewis got pole. I think it was his first pole in like 500 days. As soon as the race starts, Max and Oscar Piastri just launch past him, and then going around the first corner, he's in third, and then going around the second corner, Lando passes him, so he drops to fourth after 2 turns. So I thought it was just an abysmal start from Lewis. He ended up pulling it back up near the end. But like I said, the rest of the race after that, it was kind of just Sergio and George passing one car after the other until the end of the race.
Like, it honestly should have been Max, Lando, and Oscar Piastri. Like, that should have been your top 3. If that safety car did not come out, it really did screw Piastri.
Mm-hmm.
And some a bit of the team calling, I did find it weird. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
But the first set of pit stops, Oscar's second, Lando's third. The unwritten rule is the lead driver gets the call, the first call on the pit stop. They have the right of way, but they bring in Lando Norris to bring the first pit stop. He comes out, or he pits, then Oscar comes in second, or comes in next lap. And wouldn't you believe, Lando Norris is ahead of Oscar Piastri, taking his position. I thought it was a bit of favoritism with McLaren. I mean, I don't know why you do that. But it definitely kind of screwed him in the long run, because that safety car screwed him up for the second round, and instead of a third, he got fifth.
Yeah, to me, it also seemed like a little bit of a cheeky undercut by McLaren. Like you said, calling Lando in and then Oscar the next lap, and Oscar coming out of the pits just as Lando passes him. So yeah, I agree. A little bit of favoritism on McLaren's part. And
but
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and like, granted, it shouldn't have really affected if there wasn't a safety car. It really shouldn't have affected the race at all. And maybe Sergio would have caught up to him, but you kind of screwed yourself on it. But I mean, it's still a 5th place finish. It's still a 5th place finish.
Yeah.
I mean, considering he could have been an Alpine this year, like, he's looking good.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, the Alpines, they did, like I said, we were talking off podcast earlier or last week, Scott, and I was looking up into the clouds one night, and I was like, you know what? I can see Otmar getting fired. And I said that last week, and as soon as the race started and those Alpines went out, I knew something wasn't gonna be right.
Something definitely didn't jive, and you know what? We'll get back into that later, but definitely he is Kyle Damas. For anybody who hasn't watched the news today on a Friday, like, he's going to have to start picking lottery numbers for people, because he sees into the future. Kyle is know-all and see-all. But, like I said, your podium was Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Checo Perez. So podium celebration goes on. Everybody pops champagne, and what we've learned now on podium celebrations, if you win the winner's trophy, do not set your trophy anywhere near the podium, because Lando Norris is going to destroy it. That was probably one of the best reactions ever. Does his signature, slams a champagne bottle on the podium, sprays, and just watching that trophy keel over, fall, and his like, okay, we're going to party some more. Maybe they didn't see it. Reaction was priceless. That's stuff I love to see.
Yeah, if that's at a different track, maybe the trophy doesn't break, because in Hungary, porcelain is very prized. So that's the reason their trophies were made out of porcelain. And like you said, he knocks it down, I think he notices it, steps over it, still celebrating, and then as soon as Max notices it, Lando's like, "Oh, did I do that?"
Dude, I would have been like, it was your teammate. Yeah, I saw Checo do it. He murked it.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking up, 45,000. I don't know if it was euros or in the dollars. I'm imagining euros, but $45,000 like porcelain vase engraved, like, for the Hungarian Grand Prix. But luckily for Max Verstappen, I didn't know this. All podium trophies are guaranteed for life. So if something happens to it, he gets a free one. So that was actually pretty cool. So, Lando's off the hook for 45 grand.
Yeah, and I mean, he can probably afford it, but probably a good thing. While we're still on the podium, let's get into some stats because it seems like every single week, Max Verstappen and Red Bull seem to be breaking stats in Formula One. So the podium in Hungary was Red Bull's 250th podium. It was Verstappen's 30th consecutive classified finish, breaking Daniel Ricciardo's Red Bull team record. It was Verstappen became the fifth driver in history to win 7 consecutive races, after Albert Ascari, Michael Schumacher, Sebastian Vettel, and Nico Rosberg. And then Red Bull also claimed their record-breaking 12th consecutive win, breaking McLaren's 1988 record. So, I guess we'll stay on.
Oh,
No, I'll get this out. Lando Norris' first career back-to-back podium finish, because I just wanted to stay on Red Bull. But like I said at the beginning, so Red Bull and Max just seem to be breaking records every week.
left and right, left and right, left and right. It's ridiculous. I mean, you got to remember too, guys. This isn't Ferrari. This isn't McLaren. This isn't Williams, who have been around forever. This team was formed in '05. Like, this is a new, brand ass new team. Not even 20 years into F1, and they're already at 250 podiums. Max is at 44 wins right now. Like, he hasn't drove full time for Red Bull. He's been driving full time for Red Bull since 2017, I believe, was his first year. It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't get it. Like, this team is a cheat code the last year or two, and it's just going to continue. Like, they're going to kill McLaren's 1988 record that we talked about.
Yeah.
They're going to kill it, destroy it, murderize it, and I love it.
Yeah, and also, isn't Max very close to beating the all-time record for wins in a row by a single driver?
Um,
Because he's at 7.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think. What was the record? He's close, I believe. We'll have to check that next episode.
Oh, yeah. Or if anybody listening, please leave a comment on the social medias. Let us know.
Nice.
Definitely let us know on it. But Lando Norris's back-to-back podiums in his such a young career, it's nice to see McLaren kind of get back to at least fighting shape. I mean, who knows? We could see this in... it could be back-to-back-to-back podiums for all we know. And just Lando's going to get that. He's going to get that elusive win. I have a feeling this year it's going to happen.
Yeah, and the McLaren looks good enough to do it. It's just that Red Bull's on another level.
So far, so good. Well, that was a Hungarian Grand Prix. Let's dive into some news because holy shit, it's been a very news-oriented week. We're going to start off with the Driver Academy, which, if anybody doesn't know, it's F1's W Series for women to get them into more shine into the spotlight for F1 to help them out. All 10 teams will be represented by a driver next season, with each driver carrying a team livery, and there's only 15 cars on track. The other 5 cars will be pimped out to sponsors, to anybody who wants to help out in the oh my god, I call it the W Series. That might happen quite a bit. To the Driver Academy to help with the cost. I think this is awesome. I think it's great that they are trying to push. I'm not going to lie. We kind of need the females need more of a spotlight. There are some very good drivers. Jamie Chadwick comes to mind, who killed in the W Series for a few years, who was like the Max Verstappen of the W Series. And a shame that she doesn't have a F2 ride, or F3 is ridiculous. I dig it. It gets people more engaged with women in racing, and great job F1 with it.
Yeah, it's good that they're attaching finally the F1 sponsor names, like you said, of all the teams, Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari, and all that, to these cars, because it's going to give them just more of a spotlight. and like you said, bring in lots of new fans, like lots of young women and girls to watch Formula One. And
Mhm.
yeah, like maybe they could eventually get to a level where on the weekends you have the men's stuff and then the women's stuff at the same time at an F1 level.
Yeah, and like I said, there is talent out there. I know like there's a lot of older people like no, come on now, if they were good they'd have rides and this and that. You know, they could, but they don't. But I'm glad they're actually putting a spotlight towards it, and hopefully, I haven't actually checked most of the races on there. Um, I hear they're actually pretty good. I need to actually get into it. I've been slacking on watching F2, F3 stuff, so maybe during the dreaded summer break, I'll actually have to catch up on the driver academy, which like next year, I I really feel bad for whoever has the Haas livery because you can really just say, you know what, hun, I'm sorry, you're going to be finishing last all the time.
It's cursed.
Bless her heart.
And yeah, transitioning out of that, if you see the Alfa Romeo rolling around Spa this weekend, it's not high vis paint on the car. Sauber got a sponsorship from Kick earlier before the season, so they're actually doing a little bit of an altered livery with Kick name and colors on the front of the car. So that's why Alfa Romeo's livery is going to be a little bit greeny than most of the time. I guess there's no green on their car, but yep, that's
No,
why
not much, but not this weekend.
it's not high vis paint.
Oh my god. Like it definitely looks like high vis paint. I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
I guess they picked the right weekend with it being rainy and dreary and very very dark. You'll be able to catch you'll be able to see. This is the first car you'll be able to see at the lineup is this Alfa Romeo. It's wild. It's neon green. It looks kind of sharp maybe with Alfa Romeo kind of getting back into points contention. Maybe that helps a little bit. Maybe that's going to help him out. I'm a-okay with it.
Yeah, same here. Looks pretty good.
Yep. And well, boy, it's like we actually planned this and trying to be professional. Speaking of rainy, drizzly, damp Spa-Francorchamps, F1 at Silverstone. I almost call it Bridgestone. I need to get some sleep. But tested at Silverstone, spray deflectors on a couple cars, and it's to help with spray, so we don't have another Spa 2021 race cancellation after a couple laps under a safety car. It's supposed to help, and it's not a full-on part. It's a bolt-on part for just rainy conditions that teams can just bolt on to the wheels to help out with spray and mist to be able to actually race instead of pitting cars under a red flag or being wishy-washy on whether you can actually race in the rain for the fear of not having no visibility. I kind of like it. I kind of dig it, but I mean that's just kind of the allure of F1 racing, Grand Prix racing, is them racing in all sorts of weather. But it didn't look, from what I've read on the little test, it nothing really conclusive. It hasn't really showed much. They're going to try and do it again for next year to see. It's going to be almost like with when they tested the Halo, they tested the Aero screen to see if they can come up with a different solution to it. But I guess if it doesn't make the cars gaudy, if it's something small they can put on the car, bolt onto the chassis to help, I guess I'm okay. But don't give me like rain shoots or something that are going to shoot the spray out sideways or shoot it straight up. Then just don't race in the rain. But what did you think about it?
Yeah, no, they like you said, the article said they're supposed to be able to be installed within 10 minutes of the session. and taken off pretty easy. I'm absolutely for anything to be added to the cars that'll improve safety and, like you said, to stop races from only being one lap, like Spa in 2021. Um, Spa is one of those tracks that always seems to have crazy weather, and we know it's cost a lot of drivers their lives. So anything that can improve safety is a plus. But like you said, the initial testing, it said there was barely a reduction in the spray from the guards. So I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board on those things.
Definitely.
Transitioning out of Spa, we got a little bit of news on the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Maybe not the kind of news we want to hear, but hotels and casinos, F1 is trying to get them to block their windows or put up blinding lights if people are going to be trying to watch the race from there, and they're going to be charging these casinos and restaurants and all that $1,500 extra a head. Is this just F1 trying to get more money? Are they trying to stop people from watching?
So I know we kind of talked a little bit this off air, but it happens. Baseball, Cubs, Wrigley Field, they make, people watching free games on the rooftops. Monaco, I can't remember when exactly they put it, but at Portier, if I remember correctly, the sharp right-hander going before the tunnel turn, or the tunnel, it used to be just like guardrail and water. Now it's guardrail in a huge-ass mural or a blockade, because they either added on to the island and people were kind of getting a glimpse of the track, God forbid, for free of the race. And they were like, no, not on my watch. You're not have free Monaco? Screw off. But I was wondering when they did this with all the hotels and everything on the strip, if the FIA was going to step up, and sure as shit did. Yep. Honestly, I didn't see it. I saw it coming. I didn't see it being that much, like charging casinos $1,500 per person. But you got to think the casinos are probably bending over all the people staying in the hotels like 3 to 4 times the normal rate.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they can afford it, but the Vegas race is already the most expensive race on the F1 calendar. That's not hyperbole. That's like a fact by a lot. And the FIA is just going to say, hey, nope, no freebies here on my watch.
Yeah, I got a quote here from one hacked off casino owner on the strip as well. He said, "It seems insane that they are asking money for a public event that is taking place in the streets. I understand it's a street circuit. I understand grandstands, but people got to make money."
Yeah, you're not wrong. People got to make money. Speaking of making money, and who's no longer making money, shit, I got to work on my transitions.
Good one, Scott.
So, early on in the podcast, we were talking about the Alpines finishing last and second to last. Well, the Alpine said, you know what, Otmar, you're gone. Sporting director Alan Permane is also gone too, leaving the team at the end of this weekend. He'll continue. Safnauer will continue his duties as team principal for the remaining of the weekend before leaving at the start of the August summer break. In a statement, Otmar said that Alpine said that they'd like to thank Otmar for his hard work over the past 18 months and for leading the team in achieving 4th place on 2022 constructors, and wishes him best of the luck in the future. He got future endeavored by Alpine. And that the sporting director, Alan Permane, split was a mutual agreement. So, what do you think?
Yeah, it said mutual agreement, but I don't know. Contract terminations always kind of sound like that. It's like, hey, we're going to terminate your contract. You can agree or not. You know what I mean? But like I said, Kyle Damas from the clouds. I saw it coming last week. Alpine has just not been good this year. And I mean, their expectations were so high coming into the season after they signed Gasly. You got this great lineup of young-ish drivers, and they just have not been able to perform. That's their second or third double DNF this season. We're only halfway through.
Yeah, yeah, and we've skipped 2 races too. It's definitely like I said earlier in our breakdown. Australia was the last was the red flag that ended the race, and it was both cars. And this was the first turn. Is it Ocon? Like it just seems everywhere that Ocon goes, him and teammates just clash. Last year you heard with Fernando Alonso a bit. Alonso would get kind of peeved with Ocon with some certain moves, and this year it just kind of seems the same. Uh, the first time it was Gasly in Australia, and this year, this time, the last week, is Ocon. Does Alpine maybe need to kind of transition to maybe more of a consistent driver? I know Ocon has Alpine's first win, and since they've become Alpine, since they've been Renault, it's the first win. It's the last win since probably Alonso was there in the late 2000s.
Daniel Ricciardo won with Renault, didn't he?
No, he won with McLaren in 2021.
I thought he got a win with Renault. Didn't Cyril get a tattoo on his ankle?
He got a podium with Renault.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what I'm remembering.
Yeah,
I'm giving them too much credit.
You can't give him that much credit. But no, it was a podium. So he ended up getting a podium. I can't remember what race, but it was a podium. And yeah, that's it. That's kind of been it. And I also forgot too that Pat Fry will leave or is leaving Alpine as well, and he signed with Williams to be their chief technical officer. So that's 3 key people for the Enstone team gone by the summer break. Is it rebuild time for Alpine? Is it? I mean, they were 4th in the constructors. They were pretty consistent, but was that just maybe Alonso helping out? I mean, because Alonso did pretty good for him, and like I said, just the consistency hasn't been there this year.
Yeah, I think it is, Scott. I think it is total rebuild time. Sell everything. I think BWT is going to be leaving them as a sponsor as well, because them and Otmar are kind of linked at the hip. If you even go back to Racing Point and Aston Martin, while he was there, they were a sponsor, so they're going to lose some money there. I think it's going to be a total rebuild, and they're going to be bad next season. I'm talking in like North American terms, but they're leaving the midfield. They're going to be lower down the pack.
Whoa, they're going to be with the Haas team?
I don't know if they're going to be that bad.
Shit, nobody's that bad. I mean, I could start a team out of my garage and still be more competitive than the Haas team. I know we kind of, touched on this a little bit before we recorded, but do you see Otmar signing with anybody? Is there a team out there that may kind of scoop him up, or does he kind of go his merry way and just kind of go to another business venture?
Yeah, Kyle Damas is coming out again. We've been shitting on Haas a lot lately, and you've been calling for Gunther's head. I think if Gene eventually stops calling Gunther, or Gunther stops calling Gene, Otmar is going to be calling Gene. And because, they need the sponsorship dollars over at Haas. I think we're going to see a pink, white, and red car next season. And
oh, Jesus.
But it seems with him, he's good at making the teams a little bit better quick, but they kind of stagnate, like with Alpine and Aston Martin. So you never know. I mean, what's Haas right now finishing 7-8? What's better, 5 and 6? It's like, I don't know. In the constructors,
Kyle Damas has spoke, so it is law. It is actually freaking law. Kyle Damas has spoken, and yes, I have been on Gunther's ass about improving the team. I don't know if I can live with the pink with the Haas colors. I mean, maybe. Like I could see him joining Haas because that's about the only team that's really, and they're not even looking for a new team principal because, you know, you're a back marker team. Why the hell would you want to try to improve your team with the guy you got? So, the hell with it. Let's just keep it as is. But you're right. With him in Racing Point, Force India, it was kind of hit and miss. Besides the old Sergio Perez podium, when I went to Racing Point, it was hit and miss again. There was no real improvements until we had the pink Mercedes a few years back, and then after that, it kind of tailed off. And then with Alpine,
Yep.
really competitive his first year there, and this year it's been, let's look at it and see. Give me 2 seconds, and where are they at in the constructors right now?
Yeah, they're down the list. They
6th.
yes.
They are literally 40 points behind McLaren. They have 47 points as we speak. It's mostly been Esteban Ocon, 31, and Pierre Gasly, 16. But it's a huge drop, 40 points, and then you get to Williams in 7th with 11, because they're tied with Haas for 7th spot with 11 points halfway through the season. Yeah, the way Williams has been going, they could easily catch Alpine, and they could fall to 7th.
Yeah, and you mentioned Esteban having some struggles earlier, and if you watch qualifying today, it just continued. Went way too fast into a corner, hit the wall hard, front wing gets busted off. Alpine, after all those firings, they still continue to struggle going into the Spa weekend. The sprint shootout Spa weekend, that is.
Yep, because we still got that tomorrow. Yeah, should we go into Wally?
Yeah, we should.
From today, since it is a sprint weekend. So for some reason, let's have qualifying on Friday after one practice.
Yep.
And then do all the sprint stuff going into Saturday.
Yeah.
Let me pull up qualifying results for you real fast because the app is being wonky.
Mm-hmm.
So, qualifying 20th. My Haas boys, Nico Hulkenberg, 20th position. Daniel Ricciardo, 19th, but I will add to that, he had a lap time deleted that would have put him around 5th or 6th. But lap time deleted on his final run, so he went to 19th. Logan Sargent, 18th. Zhou Guanyu, 17th. Alexander Albon, 16th. Esteban Ocon, 15th. Valtteri Bottas, 14th. Kevin Magnussen, 13th. Pierre Gasly, 12th. And Yuki Tsunoda, 11th.
Then we had Lance Stroll qualifying 10th. Fernando Alonso, 9th. George Russell, 8th. Lando Norris, 7th. Oscar Piastri, 6th. Carlos Sainz, 5th. Lewis Hamilton, 4th. Sergio Perez, 3rd. Charles Leclerc, 2nd. And Max Verstappen, 1st. But he is starting the Belgian Grand Prix with a new gearbox. Or this weekend with a new gearbox. So he got a 5-place grid penalty. So Charles Leclerc is actually going to be leading off the race on Sunday. And Max will be starting down in between the two McLarens.
Yep, he'll be he'll be starting 6th. So Oscar Piastri moved up to 5th. No shock. Max Verstappen was the fastest car by almost a second on semi-dry conditions. But, I mean, that Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, looking very, very prim and proper in those mixed condition qualifying.
Yeah.
Sergio Perez didn't screw up and actually got a third fastest time. And like we've said in previous podcasts, McLaren keeps scratching and clawing up. Both cars 6th and 7th, and both Aston Martins 9th and 10th. But Fernando Alonso was a second quicker than his teammates, so
yeah.
I mean, we still know who the top dog in that team is.
Yeah, and Lando would have performed a little bit better too, I believe. In Q1, he went off wide and really damaged his floor that needed repairs. So I think that kind of hindered him for the rest of the session. Max almost missing Q1. Q2, 10th, I think? It was
Yeah,
close.
he was super pissed between Q2 and Q3. It was holy shit, he was pissed. And his
Yeah.
engineer, God bless him, calmed his ass down.
Yeah, there was quite a shouting match between those two. At the end, he's like, "It's Max apologized eventually, and he's like, it's okay, Max, we're getting kind of used to it." But it's kind of like, I don't know. We talk about Max and the greatness, but we also talk about the brattiness of him, and he definitely seemed like a little bit of a prima donna today, being like, "Why didn't you do my strategy?"
Bro, you're starting freaking sixth. You're gonna be in the lead by the end of the first lap. Calm down.
Mhm.
Relax. Everything will be fine. Uh, I don't get it, but yeah, both Alpines, 12th and 15th, not very good showings. Uh, how about Yuki Tsunoda, 11th in mixed dry or wet dry conditions? The Alpha Tauri, maybe they're calling back to the bottom half of the midfield because, like I said, Daniel Ricciardo had a strong last lap in Q1, and like I said, just went off in turn 8 in wet conditions, and they were like, track time deleted. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of unfortunate. I thought he was going to be good at Spa, Daniel Ricciardo, that is. But yeah, a little surprising seeing Yuki back up in there. Is it is mixed conditions though, like it always is at Spa. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens on race day. Talking about
Well, you know what was really weird?
yeah, go ahead.
They switched the Haas's around. Kevin Magnussen didn't qualify towards the bottom, and Nico Hulkenberg was just. I guess he got the ship boxes today. Like, I guess he got the ship box car because maybe Gunther was listening to me. He's like, you talk about Kevin Magnussen, hi, switch cars and show that asshole.
You fuck smashed my door.
You fuck smash my door? No one fuck smash my door. But I mean, Kevin Magnussen, this actually the same corner that Esteban Ocon ripped the banner off and hit his, damaged his wing, was on a good lap until he went off and slapped the wall with his right rear. Uh,
Yeah.
Definitely really tricky conditions, and you see the cream rises to the top with the top 10 drivers, but minus Lance Stroll because all he is a daddy's boy.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Another thing I had with Max too. After qualifying during one of his interviews, he was talked about him also almost missing Q2 and kind of how the sprint weekend setup is has kind of messed with the car setup the teams are trying to use. Also with the mixed conditions, is it going to be dry? Is it going to be wet? And then not having enough practice time, getting used to the track. And it actually made me kind of think because they're actually changing the format for the sprint shootout weekends. So right now they run with practice one on Friday, followed by the qualifying, which we saw today, the sprint shootout, and the sprint race tomorrow, and then the race as usual on Sunday. But next season in 2024, they're going to be changing it so practice is going to be the morning, and the sprint shootout is going to be in the afternoon on Friday, and Saturday is going to include the sprint race late in the morning and qualifying for the actual race during the afternoon, and then the Grand Prix still taking place on Sunday. So I was kind of wondering if you like the new format, Scott. Is it giving the drivers a little bit more time to get used to the tracks? Because I know they were complaining about not having enough practice time on the sprint shootout weekends, and they don't have to do qualifying for the race on Friday for the race on Sunday.
which, yeah, you get a mini race and qualifying on Saturday. Here is my issue. Why don't you get the whole sprint shootout? Throw that shit out. You don't need it. You just have qualifying, just have your practice, have your qualifying, and just have your sprint race. Like you can have practice in the morning on Saturday and have your sprint race like F2 does, and you just invert the top 10. So you have 10th starting first and first starting 10th. So you give those mid card or mid pack teams a chance to run up front and maybe score extra points. Like I do like the format if they're going to stick with this. It is a bit better, but it's not much. Like I said, I would rather see like how F2 does it. I just think it makes more sense. Like I don't get
I
having a qualifying for a small race that's going to be the same qualifying for the Grand Prix. Like mix it up, do something different.
Yeah, I agree too. Like, I didn't know that F2 and F3 did that kind of sprint setup, but it seems so much more
Hmm.
simplified and interesting. Like you said, with the lower teams getting points right now, it just seems like they're galaxy braining these sprint weekends. There's almost too many elements to follow, you know? Like, already half a season into F1 and they're changing the format they just introduced for next season. I don't know.
Oh, I totally agree. Like I do like it being a bit different, but again, like I'd rather see it done like in the other divisions. It just makes the racing better.
Yeah,
That's just me. What do I know?
why not have
I'm just
Logan
a
Sargent?
co-host on the second best F1 podcast out there.
Sorry, yeah, like I was gonna say, why not have Logan Sargent leading off a sprint race? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like if they would do it like this, you'd have both Aston Martins on the front row of the sprint race. How cool would that be? Lance Stroll could actually show his daddy he can lead a race. Look at daddy, I'm in the lead, I'm in the lead. Yes, son, you make me proud. Thanks, Dad. I was talking to Fernando. Um, but I do like it. But let's get into predictions. Our bread and butter. Um, I guess I will lead her off with my last place pick. Normally do qualifying picks, but alas, we record on a Friday night, and gosh darn it, stupid sprint weekends got us again. But my last place prediction, I was kind of toiling a bit. I didn't know which Haas to pick, but I'm going to stay with old reliable. I'm going to go Kevin Magnussen. I think he's going to dump it first corner if we have wet conditions. He's just gonna put her in reverse, Terry.
Back up,
That's my
Terry.
last pick.
But
Who do you got finishing last?
yeah, so last segment, little foreshadowing like I usually do on the shows. I have Logan Sargent finishing last, span out at the Hungaroring with 3 laps remaining. I think not so great rookie season. His confidence is a little shot. At Spa with the weather, I think he's going to finish last.
Ooh, I think he's gonna fight for points at Spa. I think you're knocking the American down a bit. He's got that grit. He's got the stuff. I think he'll be okay.
I
I
like it.
think there might be a big pile up. I'm not saying Kevin Magnuson's gonna cause it, but I think there's a chance. Bottom step of the podium for me. I'm gonna go all over the place here. Oscar Piastri finishes third. I think the McLaren's quick. He's looked really, really good. He's thanking his lucky stars. He didn't sign with Alpine and got the hell out of there. I think the stars align and we see the Australian on the podium.
Yeah, my third spot on the podium is going to be Pierre Gasly. I know we just been ripping the Alpines for about half an hour straight, and but Spa, like I've mentioned 100 times this show, the weather is going to be a factor. I think Pierre Gasly is going to make his way onto the podium,
Ooh,
and
I
it's
would
a
like to see him on the podium.
yeah. And another reason I have him there is because it is kind of I wouldn't say a special track to him, but his really good friend Antoine Hubert, who died there in 2021. I think it'd be nice to see him on the podium, Pierre Gasly.
Yeah, no, it's been 4 years. It's
Damn,
2019.
my bad.
2019. Yeah,
Before my
and
F1 time.
that's again too. Yeah, I would like to see him because every year he places flowers where he died, where the wreck happened, and I would like to see him. Yeah, we rip Alpine a lot, not as much as Haas, but it's not so much fun with Alpine. But no, I love Pierre Gasly. I think he's a great driver. I think he's a great human being. Uh, I would love to see it, but I don't think he's in the car for it. My second place finisher, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think Ferrari doesn't screw up, and we get Charles Leclerc second place.
I have Max Verstappen finishing second on the podium. I think he just
Wow.
loses traction at a corner because I believe it is going to rain really hard during the race. So yeah, Max Verstappen second.
Wow. You actually had Max in your top three because, spoiler, I didn't.
What?
Um, interesting. Uh, yeah, I agree too. I think something happens in turn one. Not saying Kevin Magnussen goes full blown Roman Grosjean and forgets to brake going into turn one. Could cause some collision. You know, he's not too far from him. Wow. My winner, the Red Bull streak keeps going, but it's going to be the other guy. I think Checo Perez. I think we've been kicking him while he's down and spitting on him. I think he's going to pull out the W. I think Max is going to have an off race. Something's going to happen with the wet weather conditions. I just have this feeling, and normally when I have this feeling, he totally screws me and wins by like 40 seconds. But I honestly think Checo Perez, he's got it. I think he's going to have the race today, or I'm sorry, race on Sunday. Wet weather conditions, he's good on street circuits. He's pretty decent on the wet circuits. The Red Bull is a horse. Checo Perez.
So my race winner is going to be Lando Norris. I think he had tough qualifying, but like you said, something is going to happen during the race or at the race. My happening isn't going to be during the race. Lando's going to win. Max is going to finish second. He's going to be so upset with Lando for breaking his trophy in Hungary. He's going to pick up Lando's first place trophy, drop kick it into the middle of the Ardennes, and then we're going to see Yos in the background just staring at Checo for no reason, even though he didn't make the podium. So, yeah, it's a little long-winded, but Lando Norris finishing, even though it's primarily circled around Max Verstappen.
Wow. Like, even though it's not about Max, it's going to be about Max. Interesting. You know, a side prediction, because I have somebody on the podium. Do we see a shoey by Oscar Piastri if he gets on the podium? Yes or no?
Yes. Every time there's a shoey in Formula One now, we'll do one as well on the podcast. I think that should be a thing.
It's law. Yeah, it's got to be law. Like, I don't know if I want to do it out of my skate boots because, you know, those things are nasty. I've had them for a few years and, you know, there's only so much a heater can do for those things. But yeah, I'll definitely do a shoey out of a shoe, work shoe, new shoe. I'll have a shoey shoe for all. We got 2 Australians on the grid. I mean, if we get a shoey, we'll do it. We'll record it. We'll put it on for you people, for all our listeners.
Yes, sir.
And I'm going to jot that in my notes. Shoey. Do you have anything else to add? I know we talked about a lot of different news, but anything we missed?
No, I think we hit it all. I'm sure more will come out just because of the time of year it is. But no, yeah, the show was kind of all over the place, but I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, a lot of news. And again, guys, if we missed anything, please let us know. Comment, social media, YouTube. Let us know, hey, how come you guys didn't talk about that? And then when we do our post-race show, we'll sure as shit talk about that. Well, I guess that's it. It's could have been a long episode if I've been timing this correctly. So I appreciate every single one of you guys listening. Our YouTube has been booming, so let's try to get up to over 100 views on YouTube before we do our next show. We're getting closer and closer every week, and we do really appreciate it. Me and Kyle, I really appreciate you guys listening. Like I said, interact with us. Tell us what you want to hear, what you don't want to hear. We're here for you guys. We are your loyal servants. And like I said, I appreciate from the bottom of my heart everybody listening. I've been Scott.
I've been Kyle.
Thank you guys. Enjoy the Belgian Grand Prix. We'll be back with a post-race breakdown next week and get into some summer break stuff. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great weekend.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Paddock Talk. Don't forget to like and share the episode and check out Paddock Talk on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord.